Hello everyone, welcome to 40k Theories and to today's video. No, do not adjust your headset, it does sound a little bit different today. My name is Nee from Tactica Imperialis and I am one of the hosts of Adeptus Podcastus. Welcome to the newest episode 183. Sorry Remlays, I know that you like your intros in a very certain way and it's not my way, so tough. Remlays is unavailable today on health grounds. I'm not going to say any more than that because it is not my place. But he is not available today, and so we've had to make a last-minute substitution. It's not the normal way of doing things, but it is what it is, and of course, it is not a problem. So, joining me as today's guest is actually the same person who was on the last episode, so apologies for that one. But it is the other half of 40k Theories, Naerina.
Hello everyone, and yes, terribly sorry you get to hear our voices again, this time minus Remlays.
Yes, I mean, they've listened to me talk 180 or so times. I think I've missed one episode, maybe two in the time of the podcast history, so, you know, they've heard me talk for about 2 hours 180 times. I think they're pretty used to it by now.
Yeah, I think so too. Perhaps we'll manage. Besides, now that he's not here, we'll be like, oh my god, did you know that I don't know?
Yes, don't be surprised if there's a little bit more Sigmar in your podcast than usual because Rem isn't here, but we shall see how we go.
Yeah.
Because in all truth, it's been a bit of a boring couple of weeks. After the whole glut of stuff that got done with the various previews not that long ago, the last couple of weeks have been pretty damn quiet, in all honesty. There hasn't been much to talk about. There's been maybe a couple of models here, a couple of books there. We'll get through what we can get through, but don't be surprised if the news section is a little bit more flexible today, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, from what I skimmed through the headlines and read some of the articles as well, I was like, I think last time we had so much to talk about in comparison to this.
We did indeed. In fact, probably the most interesting models of the week come from the Age of Sigmar and Warcry. So, the Fireslayers were given a new warband. They're called the Vulcan Flameseekers, and they're actually taking Fireslayers into a completely different direction. You see, Fireslayers, their entire shtick is there was a fight between Grimnir, their god, and a god beast, Volcatrix. And Volcatrix and Grimnir both kind of died, but their two souls kind of fused. But this group of Fireslayers worship worship Volcatrix, even though they also worship Grimnir, because, you know, he was powerful enough to kill Grimnir. So they go and hunt down Magmadroth eggs and try to incubate them.
So are those creatures, those red lizard-like creatures called Magmadroths?
So the Magmadroths are the ginormous things that Fireslayer generals ride around on.
Oh, that's so cool!
But what you've got, I suppose, you do have a baby Magmadroth in the warband, as far as I can tell. Yes.
The babies were like first war experience. Let's go. That is adorable, though. Also, they're actually having the eggs on some of the models.
Yeah, they do. And what's really interesting is that these axes are brand new. We've not seen this design of axe before. But the way that the characters are designed, I think this is also the first female Fireslayer, just for the record.
Oh, yeah, that looks amazing.
But they've got a real story going on because you've got the Droth Master. So they've got a whip of Magmadroth scale and their armour is as well. And yes, they do have eggs in their shoulder guards. And they're the ones who actually tame the Magmadroths.
All right.
However, the guy underneath with the massive spear is, as far as I'm aware, the Dour Blood Thane. And their job is, if the Magmadroth gets too far out of hand, their job is to murder it.
Yeah, I think that's a wise decision to have someone like that in the group.
Yeah, I think that's the one. Maybe that person is the Vulcan Runefather, for which I apologise if I got that one wrong. And the Dour Blood Thane is somebody, Drothblood Thane, sorry, to do that one, because the model underneath, I'm assuming, is the leader of the warband, the Runefather. So my apologies. But still, it's a really unique design for Fyreslayers, and I'm not lying when I say this. It is the third unique kit for making Fyreslayers units.
Really?
That's it.
That's it.
Fyreslayers have been around since like AOS 1. They have 2 kits and heroes.
That's like ages ago. Goodness gracious.
Yeah. They haven't had anything apart from heroes since AOS 1. They were given the Volkite Berserkers, the basic guys, and they were given the Auric Hearthguard, who've got like a pike variant or a gun variant, as I recall. So that's 2 kits. And then they had the Magmadroth kit, which had 3 different hero variants that you could put on it. The Rune Sun, the Rune Father, etc. And that was it in AOS 1 for Fyreslayers. Since then, they've had the Grimwrath Berserker, which is like the Super Slayer. They've had Gotrek, who isn't a Fyreslayer, but kind of looks like one, so I guess maybe, I don't know. And they got another hero when they did the Battle Box with the Ideneth and the Akelian Thrallmaster, though I've actually forgotten what their name was, what that hero was called, because I was only interested in the Ideneth side. But I think this is the 3rd kit that builds a unit for Fyreslayers, and their 4th unit that isn't a hero.
What do you think? Could this be that, like, more and more kind of dwarven characters are coming out because, you know, the Leagues of Votann were so like, oh my god, the squats are back, and they were under such a hype that people are, like, actually feeling like, okay, fine, we can do more dwarves then.
Maybe. I mean, they haven't done that with Cities of Sigmar. All the models they've given to cities have been human, which is fine, and that's the direction they're going with the Free Guild. But if you're a dwarf player in Sigmar, you've kind of been shafted. Like, you look at the elves, they got nothing throughout all of AOS 1, whilst the Fyreslayers got the Caradron, and they got, which are the steampunk fly ones, and they got the Fyreslayers. Good start. And the elves got nothing until Daughters of Cain right at the end of AOS 1, and Idneth Deepkin right at the end of AOS 1.
Yeah.
The Daughters of Cain were a hybrid army that had 2 new units plus Morathi. Everything else was ported forward from Dark Elves. And then the Ideneth came along, and were like, hello.
Hello?
And then the Lumineth have had 3 separate waves of stuff. Because they got the initial wave in COVID with their army box, then they got a second wave, and then they got a third wave.
Yeah.
Because they've had 3 battle tomes, despite only being an edition and a bit old.
Yeah.
So I do feel like the dwarf players have had a real rough end. The human players have had nothing up until now with Free Guild. Like, dwarves have had it better than humans, but the humans have now been given everything they could possibly need with Cities of Sigmar. So I think the dwarves do need a bit of time in this, the next order chunk, to get some bits and bobs and stuff.
Very true. Also, like, when it comes to design, the leader character's helmet reminds me of the, goodness gracious, I just remember the instrument's name, but now it escapes me. From the British Isles, I'm not sure if it's Irish or not, the very, very tall horn with the, is it a pig's head or something like up there? The kind of war horn thingy? It reminds me of that with the dragon
I'm
head.
sorry, my I have no idea. I'm sorry. My history isn't that good.
That's all right, because, like, I think I was listening to, you know, how it was or should be played, like, a week ago, because I went on a YouTube, you know, tour, and I got lost as per usual. But,
down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, down the rabbit hole, absolutely. Without Frederick, unfortunately. So I had no one to guide me, so I just, like, went around, like, the musical scenario, like, being like, oh my god, there's this kind of an instrument, and then there's this kind of an instrument. But let me Google it real quick.
Okay, yeah, fair. While you do that, the other models have actually pretty much all come from Horus Heresy. There is, well, actually, that's an interview with the vampire team. We've already seen the vampire kit for Blood Bowl get redone, but it's a lot of cool stuff going in that vampire team. I know we've discussed it at another point before.
We can still discuss vampires are awesome. Oh, Carnix! Yeah, The instrument is called Carnix. It's a very, very cool horn. You should check it out.
Duly noted.
I can send you picture or a link at some point, but perhaps we should focus on this, otherwise
yes,
we'll be like, oh my god,
perhaps.
instruments.
So, the other models come from Horus Heresy. So, firstly, the Traitors got a new consul, the Traitor Champion Consul, because we saw the guy who looks like a Black Templar but isn't a Black Templar for the Imperial Fists a while ago. The Traitors have now got their answer to that.
Ooh, that looks badass.
It does indeed look badass. So we've got, it's Mark III armor, heavily modified, but it is Mark III armor. So it is something different from the other champion consul who's wearing Mark VI. So it gives you a real contrast between the two. And if you're wanting to play a Mark III army, you've now got a consul champion you can use, which is really good. And I can't see anything sculpted that's iconography.
Yeah, me neither.
I can't see anything particular, apart from maybe the Eye of Horus and the Star of Chaos in the middle, which you might consider that might need to scrape off if you're going to use them as a loyalist. But certainly the Traitor Legions, you could use any of them. I don't know how far you'd have to go to make it loyalist. But it's a really imposing model, so I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, like, I don't see that many spikes either. Okay, there's one, like, is it in the, like, on the helmet or behind the helmet or something?
On the
like,
helmet.
On the helmet, yeah. Like, take that off, take the Eye of Horus off. Yeah, I think that's about it.
Yeah, and you can easily do a head swap for any bare head because you can just get around the helmet problem that way.
True, very true.
Yes, the other one is for the Space Wolves. You know how much I love talking about Space Wolves.
Yeah, absolutely.
The Space Wolves did get a Praetor of their own, and much as it begrudges me as a Thousand Suns person to say it, it is pretty good.
Oh yeah, that is bad ass. Is that carved? Like that pattern on the chest?
Axe, yeah.
Yeah, on the axe
chest.
Yeah.
I assume so, yes.
Oh, goodness gracious.
You'll also be pleased to know that they've ditched the wolf helmets.
Woo!
So you know how Space Wolves had their Legion upgrade kit, which was just stupid fucking wolf helmets? Yeah, I think the GW guys went, actually, hang on. Oops. So they've just done proper Corvusy ones, but with lots of bit of runics and all this like Space Wolf rune type stuff instead. So they've walked back on that one.
Yeah, but I think it's better like this.
Yes, but as for the Praetor itself, it comes with a bolt pistol because it doesn't care about shooting, a mastercrafted frost axe, loads of intricate carvings in the armor, massive wolf pelt over one shoulder, shield strapped across the back. Like, if you asked, and crossed axes in the 6th Legion and a back banner on its backpack as well. Like, genuinely, if you said, give me a Viking and put him in sci-fi armor, this.
My thoughts exactly. I was like, yeah, that's a Viking. And like,
Which was entirely the point.
That, like, they are very good at when it comes to themed characters and themed kind of chapters, especially when it comes to, like, Vikings, at least at the moment. Of course, the wolf helmets, we don't talk about them. But,
we don't talk about them.
Yeah, like we don't talk about Bruno. Hey, there's an Encanto reference for everyone. But yeah, this is an awesome model when it comes to all the kind of detailing and how they, like, not all of it is, of course, runes, but I could imagine, like, if I were to warp back in time and if I were to see a Viking and, like, if I gave him information of what sort of, kind of futuristic armor one could have and showed this picture, I think they would be excited.
Yes.
Of course, the Roman numerals would be like, oh my god, what is that?
Well, no, Roman numerals were around before the Vikings.
Yeah, but they're like, oh my god, Romans, no.
Yeah. I mean, it wouldn't be what they would use, absolutely, but it's not a word they've never seen before.
Yeah.
In all truth, though, heresy models are always, like, just good. They're always good. There's very, very, very few bad ones.
I'm not sure if I've seen any, but then again, I haven't been, I don't think I've seen all of them.
No, and I can't think off the top of my head either. However, if your sense of scale for models is a little bit chunkier, shall we say, and you don't necessarily like going directly to Games Workshop to give them all your money, might I suggest that another workshop be drawn to your attention? Now, normally we don't talk about stuff made by other people, but when it's officially licensed, I think we kind of can.
Yeah,
especially when the collaboration is between Games Workshop and the one, the only, the pretty legendary, I should say, Weta Workshop.
Ooh!
Yeah, GW and Weta Workshop are working together on a set of, and I quote, 1 to 6 premium collectibles. That 1 to 6 is the scale, by the way, in case you've not heard that description before. Now, off the top of my head, I don't know what scale Warhammer models actually are.
I've no idea. I've never thought about it, so off the top of my head, cannot say.
They are 1 to 66.
Okay.
So, about 11 times smaller than these.
These are going to be like statues. Mini statues,
Yes.
but still.
That's exactly what they're going to be.
Oh, yes!
So yeah, that sounds really, 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 really cool. And I am, as much as I don't think I'm going to be able to afford one anytime soon, I am looking forward to seeing them, because when you upscale, we know how detailed Citadel miniatures are, but if you make them 11 times bigger and give the designers that much room to go mental, like take that Space Wolf we just discussed, that Space Wolf, but with 11 times more room to do the runes on the armor, then holy hell's what you can come up with.
It's just like when I was given free reign when I played my first ever game of 40k when it comes to TTRPGs, it was Rogue Trader, and was given free reign of designing my Rogue Trader's clothes, and the only things I was given as an instruction was futuristic, Rococo, or whatever it is called in English, like all the frills, everything, though of course it should have been Baroque, but anyway, I went mental with details. Absolutely mental. And I regretted it because I was like, yeah, I'm going to ink this and then I'm going to color this. But honestly, I'm just so excited. It's like, kind of like Titan size, these things that are going to be like.
I don't know. Like 11 times bigger than a 28mm scale is, well, 11 times 28 is, hang on, quick maths, is 308. So that's about 31 centimeters. So about 12 inches tall.
Yeah, they're not quite Titan size, but they're still very big.
They are not short. That is definitely true. They are not short.
Yeah, I'm just like, and I love the fact that you speak in millimeters, centimeters, all kinds of sensible, kind of measurements.
Well, to be honest, that's because I Googled the scale and it said 28mm. So, I'm just using that number. If it said it in inches, I'd be giving it in inches.
God damn it.
I would have just converted because I can work in both scales, because working as a science teacher, I have to work on the metric scale all the time.
Yeah.
And yet half the things we do in Britain are done on an imperial scale. So it's a pain in the arse.
I'm curious, how do you manage it?
You just... Bear in mind, every ruler you buy in the UK, normally, a lot of rulers you buy have got inches on one side and centimetres on the other.
Yeah,
so
we had those kind of rulers too, at school, but we'd never use the other side of it.
Yeah, but I think it's also because of Warhammer. If it weren't for Warhammer, I wouldn't ever need to use inches for anything. So when you're on, the imperial scale, you're usually talking about feet and miles. So miles, okay, you can roughly visualise a mile by looking at a map. And feet, we usually talk about people as being about 5 or 6 foot tall. But we don't use feet to describe much else. And we don't use miles to describe anything else. Whereas when you're working in measurements, like other measurements, you're usually talking about centimetres.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying this is everything, but you're often talking about centimetres. You don't actually, you just need to think in 2 different scales for different things. You never need to cross them over. usually.
Well, understandable. So, like, then again, I had to Google what my height is in, feet and inches, and I still have to round it. I don't remember if I have to round it up or down, because I could just say, like, I'm this and this many centimeters tall. And for the, people that wish to really know how tall I am, I'm 168.5 centimeters tall. Put that into inches and feet. Go for it, dearies.
On it. Yeah, so...
I think it's 5'6" or something like that.
Yeah, about 5'6", yeah.
Yay!
Because 12 inches is 30 centimetres, give or take, based on the long ruler thing I just discussed. So times both by 5 foot is 150 centimetres, give or take. And then halfway up again. So yeah, it's about 5'6".
Yeah, which reminds me, like this is honestly a tangent, but on social media, for some odd reason, I've just encountered, like, for the last 3 years, these kind of videos like, yeah, a man is not a man unless he's at least 6 foot tall. I'm like, thinking of my own feet, like literally the length of my own feet, like, yeah, that's not much. And I was like, oh, right, there's a freaking weird imperial metrics, all right.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It is, but yeah, genuinely, I wouldn't use inches for measurement pretty much ever. Pretty much, anyway, because unless I was doing Warhammer, because they still do their measurements in inches.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's different. So I don't know. It's just what I'm used to, and I think it's just if you grow up with it, you just naturally get better at it.
Yeah, very true, very true. I love the fact, like, for instance, if we're, like, in the podcast, it's like you, me, and Rem is talking in, like, feet and inches, I'm talking in centimeters, and you'll be, like, in between translating these things.
It's never quite gotten that bad, but
well, yeah,
in theory.
True. Yeah, in theory.
So, where am I going next? That's
from taller boys to some other boys, probably.
Well, them other boys in this case may as well be the Space Marines, because the Space Marines get in the Codex. We knew this from the last major set of reveals. I think it was Nova, and they actually started talking about some of the rules. Now, I know we don't normally talk about rules, but well, these are the main units of 10th edition, and most people will probably be aware of Space Marines or having to play against them.
Yeah.
So the more time you have to prep, the better.
Very true.
So I'll keep it short and sweet and to the point. We got a look at the first few detachments, and it's worth noting these are not tied to each chapter. So, for example, there is a Vanguard Spearhead detachment, which is nothing to do with Raven Guard. It just so happens that Raven Guard often would play their games this way thematically, but if you're playing Ultramarines, you can still play it. Ditto the Storm Lance Task Force, which is all about gotta go fast. You don't have to play White Scars. You can play Imperial Fists on a Storm Lance Task Force if you are so inclined.
So basically, you could play Imperial Fist like going fast and then striking from the shadows.
No, you have to pick one detachment.
All right. Yeah, that sounds a bit more sensible.
So when you build your army in 10th, you pick your faction, Space Marines. You pick your detachment, let's say 1st Company, because that's one of them. And then you can pick, within the detachment, you have different enhancements and stratagems that are unlocked at that point.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
So if we take the 1st Company, for example, their ability gives Oath of Moments once per game can reroll to wound as well as reroll to hit. So, that unit really needs to die, not just have reroll to hit against it, which is what the Space Marines faction ability is. All Space Marines can do this Oath of Moment trick. But the 1st Company can say, once per game, actually, we want rerolls to wound as well, because that unit really needs to die.
Yeah, we just don't want you guys to live. Let me just, hit you, better so that you suffer more.
Yeah, because the Oath of Moments, which is a phrase that's derived from the Horus Heresy, if you didn't, on the Great Crusade, if you didn't know.
Oh, cool.
It's a rule that says, in this moment, they are dying. That is my oath. And so you get rerolls to hit against them. Your entire army gets rerolls to hit against that unit.
Oh.
And it is bonkers. Like, every time I faced it, Oath of Moment kicks off. It's like, well, I'm just losing my best unit this turn.
Yeah.
If your opponent knows what you're doing, or you're playing on quite a basic board, your best unit is just dying, because Space Marines with rerolls to hit across their entire army is fucking terrifying. And it's not just in shooting; it's shooting and melee.
Shooting and melee. Whew.
Yeah, it's annoying.
I can imagine.
Yeah. However, the reason why this first company bit kicks in is because their enhancement, or one of them, is give a Terminator 5 up, feel no pain. So instead of it being about, give your character this, it's only Terminators. So first company. And the stratagem only affects Terminators, Blade Guard vets, Stern Guard vets, or Vanguard vets. Units that classically make up the first company.
Oh, yeah.
So the next one is the Firestorm Assault Force, which is inspired by the Salamanders. Yeah. Which is all about all ranged weapons have assault, which is run and shoot. And you get +1 strength within 12 inches. Which is really terrifying, because you can run, fire a flamer, and it be strength 5 base.
Ouch. Like, what can you do with that? You're just, like, playing Tau and running away and shooting.
Oh, no. It's like playing Farsight Tau, but
right,
with better guns.
Yeah,
and a ballistic skill of 3+.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah. Oh, and you can have an enhancement to give one of your infantry characters +3 strength of their melee weapon, so you just have a strength 8 power sword if you want.
A what?
Well, maybe it's not strength 8, certainly strength 7.
But still, a what?
Like, if you take this smashy, facey detachment, then one of the enhancements is +3 strength on melee weapons.
Like, why would you ever want to fight against a Space Marine?
It's for one character.
Well, still.
So it's not as bad.
Okay, fine. Why would you ever want to, fight against the Space Marine?
Yeah, and you can't, I don't know if it can be given to named characters either, so it's very interesting.
It is.
And then we've seen the Gladius Task Force before. They're the ones that get combat doctrine, so they're the flexible option.
Yeah.
They're in the index, so I'm not going to talk about them. The Stormlands Task Force gives you run and charge.
What?
And fall back and charge. For your entire army. For the entire game.
Like, fall back and charge sounds like, yeah, and I'm just going to go forward and back, and then forward and back, and forward and back. And,
yep. That's the idea. So, turn 1, you run forward. Turn 2, the enemy moves. Turn 2, move, advance, maybe shoot if you've got assault weapons, charge into melee. You have a round in melee. Then you're still locked in melee. Turn 3, I'm a fall back so I can shoot you some more with my other unit, and then I'm going to charge right back in again.
Okay, as also a D&D player, please tell me that there's a possibility of a quote-unquote attack of opportunity when they are, falling back. Or is it just like, well, they just go away?
Overwatch can be triggered.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. But only Overwatch isn't great. We also get to learn that Hammer of Wrath is back. So, impact hits type thing.
Yeah.
So the new jump pack intercessors, the assault squads, but with actual jump packs, they've now got impact hits back. Hammer of Wrath, which is nice.
Mm-hmm.
And if you really want, actually, speaking of attack of opportunity, if your opponent moves, you can use a stratagem to make a unit within 9 inches move.
What? Okay.
So you can't charge them if they fall. So let's say you've got a locked opponent combat with an enemy, they fall back.
Mm-hmm.
However far, let's say 7 inches, you can move up to 6.
Oh, so it's yeah, you can keep running if you wish.
Yeah, it just means that you can reposition to chase down or block a gap that you've realized, I left a gap in my defenses and they're trying to cut through this way because they've done a teleport shunt or some sort of move. Actually, I'm even going to respond to that and block you from charging my unit or whatever.
That is very handy.
It is indeed. The final one's the Vanguard Spearhead, which is your entire army gets cover and your opponent is at -1 to hit unless they are within 12 inches of you.
All right.
So if you like Tau hitting you on 5 up to hit, So you want to turn Tau into orcs? Play this.
Fair.
And yes, I did say that. Turn Tau into orcs.
Yeah, I'm still
Tau
processing
as accurate
that.
as orcs.
Oh, God! Okay, I would
So
love to see that.
unless the Tau get within 12 inches of you, which is exactly where you want Tau to be 99% of the time,
yeah,
they are orcs. They hit you on 5s.
Oh, goodness. Goodness gracious. I would love to see that.
But yes, that gives you a sense of what's going on with Marines. And to be honest, as a Tau and Orcs player who's getting their codices, I think, towards the end of this year, it's actually quite nice to see, actually, you know what? These detachment rules are not just different. Like, Cow Yons is boring and War is boring.
Yeah.
Then useful, don't get me wrong, they're useful. Once per game, give your entire army run and charge, or back end of the game, your entire army gets, like, extra hits. That's really nice.
Yeah.
But these ones are not just different, they are powerful options, which means that the codex versions are going to just be stronger, more flexible, and you actually be able to play the army the way you want. Like, God, I need to play Montcar where my entire army works for the first 3 turns because my faction ability does not kick. Oh, sorry, my detachment ability does not kick in until turn 3. It doesn't do anything until turn 3.
You'll be
Most
there
games
like,
are over by then.
You're just like hanging around for the greater good.
Yeah, like we still get the spotting units and like playing a whole game of matrices of who can see who and therefore who can buff who. But you don't get the actual benefit of being a Cow Yon detachment until the back end of the game. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with Tau. And the Orcs, well, they're going to get a Speed Freak detachment. They're going to get like a really... they'll probably get a freebooter detachment type thing.
Absolutely.
Probably get a Weird War detachment, a Mech War type detachment. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what they come up with for Orcs and Tau.
I'm honestly just worried, like, of those that you mentioned, both Mech and Weird Wars are something that I'm, like, very enthusiastically waiting for because shit's gonna get weird. It'll be awesome.
It should well indeed. So yes, plenty going on for Marines, which is not something I get to talk about much. I didn't really talk about the Tyranids stuff when the Tyranids got done, but yeah, always good to have that one knocking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right, taking a complete side jump. There were some information about video games.
Ooh.
So, first thing to note, the Rogue Trader game, which I know would definitely interest yourself, Naerina.
Oh, yes. Yes.
It's a CRPG. It's called Rogue Trader.
I'll be like, oh my God, yes.
It is out on December 7th.
Hello there, Christmas.
So yes, it's going on Steam, GOG, Epic Games, PS5, and Xbox.
Ooh.
All at once.
All at once. Now, where would I want it?
Yeah, they also showed a couple of screenshots from the game in terms of like how, like obviously it doesn't walk you through all the mechanics, but it's nice looking at the character you've got at the bottom and looking at the space along the bottom, the fact that there are about 20 hotkeys for different abilities available.
Oh, I'll just mix them up. I'm just pretty sure that I'll just try to do something and something else just will happen.
But yes, there's so many bits in the hotkeys. You've got loads of characters along the top, including your Rogue Trader. And it looks a bit like, maybe not, it's not XCOM, but it reminds me of XCOM Chimera Squad, the game that came out more recently, where things like enemies have a turn order where some units will go and there'll be different priority orders and things like that, but we'll see how it all fits together.
Yeah. What do you think? Can you, because you know, there's those portraits of the characters, can you custom make them? Like, because, you know, as an artist, I would so put in a Rogue Trader retinue and just, like, things would go horribly wrong, but hey, whatevs.
I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked at many or any of the trailers, in all truth, as to how it all fits together in terms of customization. But certainly, I think the Rogues Gallery, you can't, because it names this character Marazai as a Drakari you can recruit to your warband.
Yeah.
Who can do soul-stealing shenanigans.
As one does.
pain to heal my soul shenanigans anyway.
Yeah.
But it doesn't explicitly say you can't. What's it going on? Oh, right, yeah, we've got research projects. Of course we do. Big map, travel around. I'm assuming you can customize a bit, but I'm just skimming this trailer, seeing what I can find. Oh, you can have a space wolf.
Oh my.
You can have a space wolf on your team.
But as one does.
That's a Hellbrute. That's a Necron, like, Scorpec Lord.
You can have a Necron?
No, these are your enemies.
That's what the hell?
There's an Arco-Flagellant there.
Oh.
There's the Drakari you can recruit. He does lots of punching because he has a sword. Yeah. There appears to be ship combat as well.
Oh, that's good.
It seems to be like tile-based ship combat.
Is that an Exterminatus at the end?
I don't know. I haven't got that far yet. I'm slow. Yeah, that's Exterminatus.
Yep.
Yeah, it is. That is definitely Exterminatus. So, yeah. Lots going on for the Rogue Trader. If you like your RPGs, I think you might want to give this one a glance.
Oh, absolutely. I'm already like this close to buying Baldur's Gate 3, and I'm like, not yet.
I'm really surprised you haven't.
I don't have time to play it. The A-levels are here, and I've had a very weird week when it comes to the A-levels and other stuff at school and J.R.R. Tolkien. Can I have a, tangent of that?
Fine,
Sorry.
Go for it. It's fine. Lay it on me.
So, first and foremost, I was teaching the passive, form when it comes to, the English language. For instance, cake is eaten. You don't know who has been eating it or anything. Anyway, and we were talking about the how to use the agent in it, but, the cake is eaten by someone. And there was this task in which there was a mention of both The Hobbit and The Lord of the Rings. And I was like, okay, yeah, excellent, fine, whatever. This is what happens. But yesterday, we had the day of the, autumn A-levels in which, we had, for example, one of the tests was I think it's geography, isn't it? Yeah, geography. The first task is a multiple selection in which you had to choose the, the statement that is wrong. And here we have a map, and it is just titled a, fantasy world map. And what do we have on that map? I'll just copy the picture and I'll just send it to you. As it was in the test, we have Mordor, we have Anorian, we have Lebanon, we have Minas Tirith. And one of these statements, for example, was, hold on, when it comes to the, roads. And I think the thickest, road system, or, where you have the most roads is between the northern area of Minas Tirith, Morannon and Mordor. And I was like, we are actually at the, at the sixth form high school for Americans. At the final tests, we have a task in which we have the map of a part of, anything from J.R. Tolkien. I'm here like, oh my goodness, this is Middle Earth, and people have to look at this map like it was a real map, and they just have to answer questions. I think it's fantastic.
It is, I suppose that is to Tolkien geeks what the question that was written for, I think it was a university course, about Magnuson and Russ about taxes or fraud or something. It was years ago. Mm-hmm. I can't remember the context of that exam question, but yeah, you see something like, I understood that reference and here I am geeking out about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was it last spring we had in the English exam, one of the final, tasks was about D&D. And my darling little geek heart is just reveling in the fact that now there are the people who ever make or are making these tests are a bunch of nerds that share my nerdy interests. And I'm there like, oh my goodness, oh my gracious, you darling little dearies don't have to read anything of like from Tolkien, or you don't have to have been playing D&D in order to answer these. But I'm just geeking out because this is just so wholesome and lovely. And I'm like, oh my goodness gracious. And I'm this close to calling out, geography teacher like, oh my God, I know that you don't do fantasy, but look at this map. And he's a 60-something-year-old.
God almighty.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to find this bloody exam question, but never mind.
That's all right. But yeah, this has been my nerd week, and I'm here like very, very, very excited about this. Just makes things just wholesome and wholesomely nerdy, and like, oh my goodness, I know what they're talking about. Yay!
Yeah, there's always that. I understood that reference.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's just a very human reaction to, like, regardless of whether we're talking about the map of Middle Earth, like WWE, or I don't know, hockey or football. And like, if there's something like, hey, I understood that reference, just people are like, the dopamine that you get from that is just like all over the place. I think that's why Marvel movies are so successful.
Quite possibly.
Like, let's give them some dopamine. Let's see how they are hooked to this.
Yeah, we had our first, I know it's a semi bringing it back, but also tangential. We had our first Warhammer Club of the Year this week.
Ooh, and how did it go?
Oh, it was amazing. Like, genuinely, we had a lot of the people who came last year came back, and we were just like, right, we're all a bit rusty. We haven't played over summer because we've all been busy. Let's just have a bunch of like 2v2 games, get the rule books, get a few experienced people around the tables. And it ran so well. And genuinely, putting my new Farsight on the table. And admittedly, he kicked some serious ass.
As he should have.
But like, genuinely, I think he went through... If it weren't for lucky armor saves, he went through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 Marines.
8?
Across 3 combat phases, admittedly.
But still 8!
Because basically his sword is 4 attacks, strength like 10, damage 3. The only challenge is because it's AP -2, you get a 5-up save, so some of them did survive. But it's like, I've just missed having my boy and putting him in combat and watching people realize, holy shit, Tau have a melee unit. Because if you put down, if your Tau player rocks up and puts an army down and you see Tau coming on the board, you're like, oh, okay, it's Tau. I can roughly expect what's going to happen here is sit in a corner, run for objectives and shoot.
Yeah.
And then, holy shit, I just got my backside handed to me by a melee unit. And it's like, what? What just happened to me?
Let me whack you to the greater good.
Yeah, it was just good. And for once, Shiny New Model Syndrome didn't get him killed, which was definitely nice.
Enjoy that while it lasts.
Enjoy that while it lasts, I will. But
also,
no,
honestly, because I've seen that model, very good work with the painting.
It's not that good, but thanks.
I like it.
It's nice, it does its job, but it's very limited in terms of how many paints I use, because the only paints I had to hand were the spare paints that I brought home from Warhammer Club. I left all the ones that we didn't have a spare of at Warhammer Club, I left them at school, and I brought all the ones that we had duplicates of home. So I only had the dupe paint, so I had like Corn Red and Mephiston Red, because we've got like 5 of them, and Lead Belcher, but we didn't have like... I used like 8 reds to paint my Gazkul.
Really?
Whereas my Farsight, I used like 3.
Well, think about like how much of a limited palette you had. Very good work still. I really liked it.
Yeah. I'm not complaining. I am not complaining. It's just different. And just getting him on the board again and just being able to play
Yeah.
is great. And I missed it.
Understandably.
I just missed as you say, the dopamine hit of playing Warhammer.
Mm.
And it's one of those things that when you don't have a lot of time, you're very busy, or you've just got a lot of things going on in your life, whatever they may be. Could be work, could be school, could be a million and one things.
Indeed.
You miss the little things, and you need to take sometimes just a little bit of time for just therapy. That was part of what Warhammer Club has always been for me, is therapy. So being able to do it and have fun and hobby, so good. So good, so good, so good, so good.
Yeah, it's so good. As you said, it's therapy. It's so good for your mental health. And so many people just I really hate the fact that, at least in the Western world, like, we have this, well, not all people, but at least in Finland, we have this kind of thing, from what I've noticed in myself, is like, well, this is whatever I'm doing, it's not productive. So should I be doing something else that is more productive? Because I don't know. I think it's just like, if I'm doing this, I'm not sure, and that's not healthy. I think the healthiest thing one can do is do something productive and then do something that's completely whatever you want. Because you need that. People need to do things they love, regardless of if it's, productive or not.
Yeah. You can't be all on, all go, all the time.
Yeah.
You can't. You have to take a bit of time, but at the same time, you do have to try and be productive, and you can't procrastinate yourself to doom. But being able to take a bit of time to find something you enjoy. It doesn't have to be Warhammer. I recommend it, but it doesn't have to be.
Yes, we all do.
Could be reading, could be writing, could be gaming, could be any number of things. Whatever it may be, it's good to take a bit of time for yourself. And for some people, that's what this show is. 2 hours, an hour and a half, 2 hours, and just listening to people talk about things that they are passionate about. That can be enough. And I remember when we talked about, we asked the comments, why do you watch the show? What do you watch it for? Do you watch it for the book discussions? Do you watch it for the Q&A? Do you watch it for whatever? And a lot of people came and said, we watch it for you.
And that's so
Renlays
awesome.
And myself.
That is the best kind of feedback you can get.
That it's not that we can just talk about random bullshit and get away with it. We can't just talk about random bullshit and get away with it. But at the same time, we can just be free to talk and be ourselves. And encouraging other people to do that is a positive.
Yeah.
Freedom of expression is important, and being able to find something you enjoy and express it is really, really, really important.
It is.
So, find something you enjoy. We recommend Warhammer, but it doesn't have to be, because it is quite social. But at the same time, social skills. I don't know if you're worried about your kids being stuck to their consoles all day, get them some Warhammer. You'll pay a lot of money for it, but also you'd probably pay the same amount for a Switch and all the games that go with it over the years.
Indeed.
So you might as well get them something that will get them to, read and talk and be in person. I'm not saying you can't do that with gaming. I'm not. You can. There are loads of games that go with reading, mental skills, and socializing and communicating on Discord or whatever. I was literally, we're on a Discord call right now. Hello.
We are.
So it's fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. But if you're wanting to do something that you can engage with younger people, and I'm saying this as a teacher who's done exactly this with young people, and you want to engage with them and get them doing something hands-on and requiring some social literacy, math skills alongside the fun of it, that is also really fun, and you can really do some great storytelling and role-playing alongside it and be really creative with.
Yeah.
Wow, it's a great hobby.
It is. And just the variety of it. You have the miniatures, you have the tabletop RPGs, you have the books, you have the animations, you have all sorts of fun, fantastic things, and you have the community. It's just amazing.
Exactly. Yeah, I can't argue with any of that, really. Like, the people I was playing my game with tonight, I know they are pretty much painters. But I got a game out of them, and they had fun. Problem solved. And I know when we invite new people to Warhammer Club at some point during the school year, and we do a big painting session, that I'll be telling them stories as we go. Because stories are fun.
Stories are fun.
Like, we were painting, I think we set a project where everyone was going to paint... I think it was something from Blades of Khorne Bloodbound.
Mm-hmm.
And I just told a little lore story of the Chaos Gods. Just how it all fits together. Like, who are the Khorne Bloodbound? Who is Khorne? Why does he sound like a vegetable? What is he actually? So we just got to tell those stories and introduce the lore in different ways. And yeah, I know there are problems with Warhammer. It's extremely expensive. You may not agree with all GW's business practices. Warhammer Plus says hi. There are things you might disagree with. But there are many advantages too. And while I'm not here to sell you on, start a Warhammer Club, I've got an entire video telling you how to do that. But genuinely, it is just so nice to have a hobby that is sociable, fun, diverse, and allows you to meet such a large number of people and different people.
Yeah.
It is just really nice.
Absolutely. For instance, without 40k, we would have never met each other. Like, I mean, we haven't met in real life, of course, but I know
what you mean.
Yeah, we would not be sitting here discussing this thing.
No, absolutely. And the fact that I'm here on this podcast and we're here where we are because I took a shot and messaged Remlays, who was way bigger than me at the time, and just said, hey, I've got an idea for a video. You're a theory guy and I'm trying to make a theory video. Want to talk? And we did for 50 minutes. And about whether the Emperor was a Chaos God. And it basically put my channel on the map.
Oh, that's very good.
It was. It's very janky now looking back on it, but at the time, it was like, holy shit, I was made. I was a made YouTuber off that video.
And I'm so happy that you did message him. Because it's so fun to talk with you.
Where we are. Thank you.
Yay, wholesome. Wholesome things are wholesome.
Yes. I don't know how we got onto all this, but we were talking about video games.
Yes, we were. Then everything went off the rails, as per usual.
Yes. But the reason I'm diving back to this is because actually, Realms of Ruin, the AOS RTS.
Yeah.
They've done a game overview trailer. I'm not going to watch it right now, but they've given us dev tools.
Oh.
Like map creator with all the dev tools.
Oh, that's both fantastic and hilarious and a bit dangerous.
So yes, they can be used for custom multiplayer games or shared in a workshop cross-platform where community-voted maps will go into the standard multiplayer rotation and conquest mode.
Oh, yeah, that's how you should do it.
It's Halo 3 like, isn't it? It sounds like Halo 3.
Yeah, honestly, that is how you should do it.
Yeah, and they've also got an army painter tool as well. So, you can paint your army the way you want. There's 6 default color schemes for the Stormcast and 4 for the other factions, but also you can customize individual units. So, like, if you want to have, like, I don't know, let's take a yellow Stormcast faction with a black elite unit to represent, like, the Imperial Fist and the Black Templars elite guard. Like, you can do that. You don't just have to have your army be one colour and then that's it. You can have individual units given individual paint schemes if you want.
Oh, goodness, yes.
Oh, and there's a scene editor to let you pose characters and create shareable snapshots of your creations. And it also lets you adjust individual frames of unit animation to make digital art in-game.
I want.
I thought that would get your interest.
You just say art to me. I'm like, hello there.
But, like, I have to say, as someone who doesn't really understand game design or game anything really, is like having a game that's coming out in this day and age, given how much modding is a thing and all this stuff, and saying, you know what, people, have yourself a full set of dev tools for map editor, a full set of customization for every single one of your characters, and also the ability to create your own digital art and animation almost within our game, as long as you use the set of tools that we provide to you. Like, when is the last time that you can remember that a game actually gave us full dev tools and this level of customization for not like an individual character, but for all of these options, and then this sort of scene editor as well? Like, I'm sure that people will have a million examples and will be throwing them in the comments because I'm uneducated, but
we're just teachers, we're uneducated, yes.
That sounds really, really impressive, and like a lot of work that they just didn't have to do, but they did it anyway.
Yeah. And I think this might get people into kind of thinking of game design as, you know, from the practical point of view as well, and not just like, well, it's something that just, you know, happens from time to time that people make games. Like, this might actually like encourage people to create something of their own eventually in the future.
Maybe.
Hopefully.
But yes, it's coming out the 17th of November, in case you didn't know. So that'll be on PC, PS5 and Xbox X. And there is some early access as well, but that's pre-orders. And as Total Biscuit has always told me, stop pre-ordering video games.
Indeed.
And yes, rest in peace, TV.
Indeed, that too.
Yes. Finally, moving away to more classical media, books. Because, and even more classically, Caiaphas Cain.
Hero of the Imperium.
So yes, Caiaphas Cain has been around for 20 fucking years.
Goodness gracious, that's like almost as long as Pokemon.
So, yeah. His first adventure is getting a new special edition. That's for the Emperor, I assume. Yes, it is. It's for the Emperor, which is getting a new special edition, which, if you haven't seen, it has very worn edges and makes Caiaphas Cain look like the smuggest bastard to ever walk the 41st millennium.
Well, isn't he?
Arguably. But yes, so they just had a bit of a look back over some stuff, and what they're doing on top of all of this, I think they said something else, is that there's going to be... What is it? So, for the Emperor, Caves of Ice and Traitor's Hand, the first 3 novels, are, as well as the special edition of For the Emperor, the original volumes are being made in hardback and print on demand. So if you are interested in getting some of the old Caiaphas Cain stuff, and you didn't get it at the time, then it will be available on print on demand soon. Doesn't say when, but soon. However, of course, you can just, buy them digitally if you don't want the physical copy. You can just buy them digitally. Which is fine. I mean, I've got Dead Men Tell No Tales, one of the little novellas, and it was very good. So, it's up to you. If you want the digital stuff, that's fine. But if you really want the books on your shelf, with the old logo, no less, then you can order them, should you so desire.
Honestly, now I'm not sure how to, distribute my, income, because I have Baldur's Gate 3 that I should be buying at some point. I have Rogue Trader, which I should be buying at some point. And now there's this book. This frigging epic, worn out, hardcover, smug as everything. Let's be, at least one of my comments, a bit child-friendly. Like, the smug as Caiaphas Cain, or, like, in the cover. Want? I don't need it, but I want it. I don't need it, but I want it. I think I have to do some budgeting.
Yeah. As is the way it always goes.
Yeah, especially with Warhammer.
Yeah. Always have to budget and keep an eye on things.
Yeah.
So no, it is what it is.
Indeed. Perhaps I'll ask Santa for that for Christmas.
You can try. I don't know how far you'll get,
Oh,
but you can try.
Or Santa lives in Finland. I'll just have to drive up north and be like, Santa. And for the Americans who think, that Santa lives at North Pole, no.
Indeed. But yeah, that's about it for news. There is a point that Golden Demon is on its way back around at Adepticon. So you've got 6 months to get ready for Golden Demon if you are interested and want to go for a Slayer sword for Golden Demon at Adepticon. That's up to you. But, there's plenty going on. So yeah, news-wise, that's actually it. And I know we've talked about a lot with a lot of sidetracking, but at the same time, it's been a bit of a quiet fortnight. It's just like,
like the usual, okay, we have things that have come out and we have books and etc. So
yeah, compared to last time out where we had Dawn of Fire book discussions and we know how that conversation went.
Yeah, and Fulgrim's Wings and
we had Fulgrim and Space Marines and Demons and Deepkin and Britannia and all this stuff, and obviously the Space Marine Codex.
Yeah.
So after all that stuff at Nova, it's always weird how unbalanced sometimes it is. And having done the podcast for so long, it's like, okay, so last week we literally had to do the news for 80 minutes because there was just a ton to get through versus, oh, wait a minute. There is one new thing. I missed something.
Oh.
The Warhammer Day miniature. I missed one.
Do show.
So, the Warhammer Day is 14th of October, and it's the 40th anniversary, because it's 40 years of Warhammer. There's been lots of bits. We've not talked about it this year much, but it's 40 years of Warhammer this year, as we know it anyway. So, they have finally revealed the Warhammer Day miniature. There will indeed be a preview on the day as well, but the Warhammer Day miniature is, and I quote, the Ancestor's Wrath. That's its name. And it's a squat.
It is! There's a runic thing going on in there, but not in quite the same way as it is with, the Space Wolves. This is a bit more, chunky.
Yes, so it's a Votann Einheer champion, which is the guys who are lieutenants in the Votann army equivalent. But this one is not running in trying to smash you with a hammer. They're just stood about holding their hammer and shield. So it's nothing particularly special in terms of it's not super historic. Look at one of the first miniatures we ever made, Reborn, or some of our most iconic characters or anything like that. It is something more functional, but it's a Votann miniature. They're all functional.
Yeah.
So I don't mind it. I think it's a very nice design. I don't know if it's the 40 years of Warhammer miniature. I wouldn't give it that honor. I think that's being a bit nice to it.
Yeah, I think, in comparison to the Space Wolf with that awesome amount of detail, this one has detail as well, but, because the Space Wolf had a cape, which kind of gave it some movement, this one's just, posing.
There.
Yeah, just, hanging around with...
Yeah, and it's...
With some antlers. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. It's just... It's a commemorative miniature for Warhammer Day. And I think any other year, Warhammer Day, it's a nice miniature. It's one of the armies that came out this year. Fine. But for 40 years of Warhammer, I know the squats go back a long way. I know they're important. I know their place in Warhammer's history. I get all of that. But if you're saying this is the miniature that commemorates the day of 40 years of this game, and it's pretty much a squat that barely makes it past named character status. You could tell me that was the generic hero, and I'd nearly believe you. You could tell me, oh, it's a new named character for the squats, and I go, okay. Yeah, that's what it is. It's just a named character.
Yeah.
There's no history to it. It's not like made in the style of the classics. It's not calling back to anything. There's no 40 years of Warhammer about it. It's fine, but it's just fine.
Yeah. I mean, that...
I guess.
That what's it called? The Grimnir looks much more epic in contrast to that.
Oh, the Fire Slayers that we talked about at the start, you mean?
No. This. Hold on a second. I'll post you. This hooded figure.
Oh, the Living Ancestor.
Yeah, the Living Ancestor, yeah.
Yeah, that is a very good miniature.
It is. Just look at it. Just like walking on a pile of floating rocks.
Using not magic.
Yeah. As one does.
Yeah, but like 2 years ago, Warhammer Day, they gave us just a pretty generic Primaris Lieutenant, but they also gave us a really cool Vampire Lord back in 2021. Like pretty much the first Vampire Lord, because I think this was like around the time Soul Blights were being done.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a long time ago. You go back to, I'm trying to find 2022's, and I'm probably going to struggle. Nope, here it is. The one in 2022 was for 35 years of Warhammer 40,000. And where's the miniature?
Hiding somewhere.
It's the one with the Black Templar. With the Emperor's Champion stabbing the knob?
Yeah.
That one.
That one?
Was last year's.
Okay.
That was last year's.
And now we have a posing dwarf.
Yeah, like, compared to 35 years of 40k, classic artwork reincarnated, tied into the Space Marines that had been done around the time.
Mm.
And the Orcs. That's fine. This, 40 years of Warhammer, so let's just do a generic thing for an army that came out this year.
I mean, I think it's very good to have it kind of like represented, squad representation when it comes to this kind of, hey, this is our, celebration model, but it could have been better, honestly.
Yeah, and I think probably the most damning thing I can say is, like, compared to the Warhammer Plus miniatures.
Yeah.
Like, the Warhammer Plus minis have always been very good, but this year we've got the Kassakin and the Von Karstein.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, the Kassakin is a callback to a piece of classic artwork done in a style that fits with the modern, newly revamped Astra Militarum range. Mm. And the Vampire Lord is just a really cool, unique character who is completely out there and different from anything in the Soulblight Gravelord's range. Both of those would be more suitable because the vampires have been around since day one because, Warhammer comes before Warhammer 40,000. So it should have been a fantasy-ish miniature if we're going back to classic the old days. And the Kassakin is an old piece of artwork, redone, reincarnated. Both of them would be more suitable for this purpose. Mm. But they are not the gift for a paywall.
Yeah.
And it's the same like last year, they had the what's-his-face. The guy with the bloody buzzsaw hands, who was old Chaos Lord.
Yeah.
Buzzsaw hands. Again, great example of something that would have been brilliant in this context. The Vindicare. Like, that... I've just got a Vindicare. I've never called it that before. The Vindicare assassin sat inside the ruined statue. Best mini ever. Exaggerating, I know.
Yeah, but
it's
still.
A fantastic mini. Would be really nice here because, again, the assassins go back a long way and it's just, like, archetypal classic stuff. This is just boring by comparison. It's not a bad mini. It's not even a boring mini.
It's just a mini.
But for what it's being asked to do, for the role it's being asked to fill, it's boring.
It is, unfortunately, so yeah. Like, just looking at the other models that we've been going through today, this is the most like, oh, okay, thank you, next.
Yeah, like, take it, like, Warhammer Fantasy Art first edition. I'm literally just going to Google first edition artwork, and I'm going to see if I can find something that would have been good from Fantasy First. I'm just going straight into Google, and I'm just going to have a look out of curiosity. That's literally when it was a roleplay game.
Ah, the best era. I mean, we're what?
Yeah, okay. At a glance, I don't see something, but that's probably because it's diluted with a bunch of AOS artwork and other stuff.
Most likely.
But there's just... They could have done so much more than a generic squat alt model.
Yeah.
Sorry.
We apologize for being underwhelmed.
Yeah, it could have been a lot better.
Yeah.
So there we go. So that's where we are. That is the news. And several tangents and a couple of rants tied up in there for good measure.
Of course.
As you do.
Wouldn't be an episode without those.
Nope, absolutely not. This is the part where I awkwardly say I haven't had any time to do any more reading.
Yeah, congratulations to the part of awkwardness. I haven't had any time to do any reading either, unless we count, schoolwork.
Yeah, same.
But is there something that you would like to read?
I mean, I've got the Warhammer crime novel, King of the Spoil, tied up in my ebook store. Because ever since... I never got into Warhammer horror. I hate horror. Sorry.
Why?
Horror fiction and horror films especially just do not suit me at all.
Yeah.
Not because I'm like frightened of them or get jumps. Oh, I do get slightly easily jump scared, but like I can sit through, most things without massively flinching. But one thing I hate is the same reason I hate cringy American comedies like Friends. Mm-hmm. And I know it's a controversial statement. I know I don't like Friends. It's because when the thing that's supposed to make you either laugh, cry, jump, or whatever is set up, but not in a Chekhov's gun way, right? It's paid off like 2 hours later.
Yeah.
But it's set up like 3 seconds before that you can already predict what's about to happen. And you know that it's supposed to be funny. It just ruins the moment of like, there's a jump scare coming. It's so painfully obvious that there's a jump scare coming.
Yeah, and it's kind of like, okay, yeah, it's like, it's not at that point, okay, it could have been there, but it's the next thing, yeah, and there it is.
Yeah, you're mentally ready for it, and you're just like, oh. And it's the same with, like, slapstick comedy. It's like, it's so obvious what's about to happen that it actually isn't funny.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just me being British, because I don't know if it might just be a thing, but British humour doesn't travel very well, generally.
Well, I love it.
I'd say usually.
Yeah.
Because we are snarky. And we're not just snarky, like, it's quick observational snark.
Witty.
You look at something, you see a thing, you say something about it, it's funny. That's my style of comedy, is observational snark. And it's very, very effective in some ways, but it just doesn't land if... Like, particularly if you go to America, because sarcasm doesn't hit the same. It just doesn't hit the same. It's a different type of
sarcasm, absolutely.
And things just can go straight over some people's heads, and you're like, that joke just does not land.
Yeah. Very
but
true.
Like, when the comedy's like being inappropriate and just saying something inappropriate or doing something inappropriate, that's not funny to me. That just makes me wince and just like, this is cringe and embarrassing. Like, stop it.
And this is why we watch Blackadder instead of Friends.
Quite arguably, yes. But it's the same thing with Warhammer Horror. It's like, I don't get on with horror because I know I'm going in just waiting for insert jump scare here. I'm just waiting for insert gross out moment here.
Yeah.
Like, I can sit and watch a compilation of Mortal Kombat fatalities without really thinking about it because it doesn't bother me.
I can't. I just like... Ugh.
Like, most of them do not bother me. Like, blood, gore, and all the creepy shit doesn't really bother me. Like, I can watch scenes of surgery and medical programs without much care until they get the drill out. But it doesn't really bother me most of the time. But the thing with horror films, and I think the one that really bothered me was, and I know this is a really odd tangent, was when I was watching Harry Potter, the 7th one. And it's like, you know the snake's going to jump out of the floor in a minute, and you're just waiting for it. It's like, come on. And you still jump, because you automatically do. It's adrenaline. But you're still like, oh, really? All that for a jump scare that we all knew was coming?
Yeah.
I don't know. So horror's never sat with me, but crime thriller stuff, oh, that sits with me. That really sits with me.
It's all about that build-up.
It's about setup, build-up, payoff.
Yeah.
And what makes a good thriller is you're never quite sure what the answer is until you get given the answer. You might think you can work it out, but there'll always be a twist waiting, and you're never quite sure. You're always second-guessing yourself. You never quite got it. And I think that's something that the Warhammer Horror series just didn't do. Were you on the episode where Rem talked about the Warhammer Horror novel a few weeks ago? I don't think you were. Where it turned out that someone had been murdered, and it was the servitor butler did it.
Yeah, that servo skull murder thingy.
The servo skull murder, that was it.
Because I'm the one who's, doing that quality control of these episodes. I don't remember if I was on it, but I remember the book.
Yeah.
Because
and it was just
what the hell?
Yeah, and it wasn't set up. The servo skull was acting a bit weird.
Yeah.
There's a difference between it's acting a bit weird to it's a fucking servo skull that committed fucking murder.
Yeah, that's beep boop.
Because it belonged to a murderer. What?
Yeah.
Just dumb. Set up, payoff. It's important.
Very true.
And yeah, so I really want to give Warhammer Crime a try. Because I've read a lot of crime and stuff thrillers. My dad used to read a lot of Joe Nesbo, the Norwegian author.
Yeah. I've read some of his books as well.
So I've read 2 or 3 or 4 of those, and he reads a lot of Martina Cole. I've read a couple of those. And thriller books and crime drama suit me in terms of what my brain likes, because they make you think and they don't play their hand. You could only be put through horror and then not be desensitized to it after a few times. Whereas with crime, because there's always different intricacies going on, yeah, you'll be like, oh yeah, there'll be a plot twist and there'll be a love triangle out of nowhere and all these things, these stereotypical plot devices.
Yeah.
But the route from A to B is never quite the same. And there's very few beats that play exactly the same.
Very true.
And that might just be me. So I want to give King of the Spoil a try, because it seems to also work around cybercrime, which, sounds workable. So yeah, I'm giving that a go at some point. I do want to give that a read.
Yeah, that sounds something I could be reading too, because I've been binge reading all my childhood, and I presume adulthood as well, has been about Agatha Christie. Though there are some things that Christie does, almost religiously, not as religiously as, for instance, Stephen King does, but still, some of these tropes that she uses, but still, I really like this kind of, okay, something happens, you'll have to figure it out, what happens, but then you know that there's going to be a twist, but you don't know what the twist is at least. And I think that would be a very interesting read indeed for me as well.
I've just gone on to Black Library to see what the most recent releases are. I've not gone into the, coming soon page, because Rem always goes on, oh, they never update the coming soon page anyway. But
no use going there.
They've just released the Indrasta novel, The Celestial Spear, which I haven't really got into Indrasta in the new edition. She's a great looking model, don't get me wrong, but I've never really thought to explore her background. So I'd be curious to see what she's all about, because she's Sigmar's huntress.
Ooh.
But that's her thing, is hunting, prime huntress, killing the big stuff. And if she doesn't, she just dies and then does it again.
As one does.
But it talks about the idea of Indrasta is extremely deadly and get out of her way. But who is the real monster? The monster she's here to kill, or her?
Who is the monster?
Because the Stormcast are... It's more playing with the human element of the Stormcast, because the Stormcast are not human.
Yeah.
And every time they die, and someone like Indrasta will die a lot, they lose a bit of themselves until they just become mindless killing machines. And at that point, are they any worse than the Oryx or undead or vampires or chaos forces that they are sent to kill? Are they any better?
Welcome to Warhammer Dark Souls, everyone.
It's a real place to take these things. And I know Black Talon plays with, I believe, the animated series, as much as I don't like to talk about Warhammer Plus, I believe it plays with the same ideas.
All right.
It plays with the idea of, like, what do you remember? And I've never forgotten the story. I've forgotten its title. It's a short story about Age of Sigmar, about a Stormcast who begs with a Darkling sorceress to give him his memories back.
Aww.
He's forgotten so much he can barely remember his family. So he asks for it back. And she gives it to him. And it's hell.
I can imagine.
Because he can now remember them being massacred before he died and went to Sigmar over and over and over in perfect detail.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
and
goodness.
You see him later saying, please kill me, to anyone who comes near him. Like, please kill me so I can die and maybe the reforging will get this out of my head.
What a horrible existence.
So the Stormcast are, when they were released, were just ground marines, because, that was the joke.
Yeah.
But they've really, really done a huge amount of work to humanize the Stormcast. And Indrasta, as someone who is probably one of the least human of them all, as this, not psychotic, but dedicated killing machine who has one job, find the biggest thing going and stab it, and will therefore die a lot and have seen some shit. That really sits with me as a book I'd be interested in reading.
Oh,
and
yeah.
on top of that, there's the Creed novel, Ashes of Cadia. I believe Remlace was reading this.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yes, he is. He is reading it, so I'm not going to say anything about it. But he's talking about, in the book, it points out something about Cadia. So I'm going to leave that one quiet, because I think as either reading Fall of Cadia, which is the Gathering Storm book, or he's reading the Creed novel, whichever. So I'm going to stay quiet just in case.
Yeah.
And then we've got in 40k, just there's not much there. There's nothing much in Sigmar either, not in newest published date. Oh god, there's nothing there in Age of Sigmar. But
it's a sad thing. People write something about it.
There's plenty going on, and it is interesting, and I always enjoy seeing what they come up with. Obviously, we know about Caiaphas Cain. I'm not massively fussed to go read any more Caiaphas Cain. I could, but I'm not super fussed. Warhammer Crime, King of the Spoils, the one I've got. And the other ones, like the old ones, like Grim Repast, Wraithbone Phoenix, The Vorbiz Conspiracy. All these novels. Sanction and Sin's another one. Dredge Runners, or Bloodlines, Flesh and Steel. All these novels look really interesting to me. And they're actually about cheaper because they're quite old now.
All right.
Or they're from the side. Even King of the Spoil is £4.50 less than the Indrasta novel I was just discussing.
Really?
Yeah. So that's $10.99. These are $6.49.
Oh, goodness gracious. No, there's one more thing on this list of budgeting.
Yeah, it's a lot. But I've read Children of Teclis. I talked about that last episode. That was really good.
Yeah.
I read Blight Slayer. Talked about that the episode before. That was really good. I did skip one book that I didn't read. I'm reading God Eater's Son, or I'm trying to. Mm-hmm. But the one I skipped is Bad Loon Rising.
All right, that. I remember talking about that. I think I was talking about it. I remember at least listening to an episode when people, talked about it.
Yeah, it's just the idea of it's a gobbo who's been given a blessing by the bad moon, and is now becoming bigger and stronger and trying to become the most formidable boss there ever was.
Yeah.
And he's got a loyal troll at his side, and it's very like, it's called Bad Loon Rising. There's a pun in there before you even start.
Wasn't it the one with the moon themed, the miniatures as well?
That's the faction that it belongs to.
Yeah.
It's not that model, but it's that faction.
All right.
So yeah, there's loads of stuff going. Like, there's a Grand Brindral book. I just haven't read it. That's what I missed. I gave up actually on the Hollow King. I gave up on that, and I don't normally say that. I actually gave up, and it's a John French novel as well. That's not like me.
What happened?
Gave up on it. I got bored.
Oh, it's like me with, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, I think. Yeah, Half-Blood Prince. I still should try and read it because I absolutely adore the beginning, the very beginning of it, but then it just goes into boring directions and I just can't get over it.
Yeah, it's like, he's a soul-blight vampire who's got souls that follow around. He's hunting down the forces of chaos. But it's like, the book starts, he has a fight, has another fight, goes to a city, it's all intriguey and Zinchian, there's a cult thing going on. But I don't know, I only read it in short snippets, and maybe that's why I didn't get that far with it, but I just could not bring myself to pick it back up. And then when the next set of novels came out that I wanted to read came out, like Children of Teclis, as I've mentioned, and all of these, it just went straight to the back of the fucking queue. It's like, I can put you down. Normally, I can't put a book down until it's finished. But two Dawn of Fire novels came out, combined with, Children of Teclis, which is Idoneth versus Bloody Lumineth.
Yeah.
And the chaosy, Stormcast guy, which is what God Eater's Son makes itself look like. And I'm like, yeah, that please. And just skipped straight over it. And that's not something I normally do. But it just didn't interest me enough to stay with it.
Yeah. Sometimes it just is like that.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be tempted to go and try and find the Minkalesque novels. Like, if I really wanted to really go back a bit, there's a couple of Minkalesque novels I could go for. And there's one novel I did skip, which I'd be curious. I think there was a chapter it put on Warhammer Community, which is Long Shot. Mm-hmm. Because it's Guard versus Tau.
Oh.
So, and it says it's a sniper who becomes a commander, and it's a look into the haunted thoughts of a soldier wrestling with the complex realities of a galaxy at war.
Oh, poor little thing.
Like, she needs to become a figurehead or convert to the greater good.
The greater
good. And it's
good.
like...
Sorry.
It's fine. I would do exactly the same thing in your position. But no, that as a concept, a soldier, a quite reclusive sniper soldier who, is a sniper, they don't really do lead from the front, now has to become a commander. It's like, that's an interesting place to take it. Then throw the greater good in there. Throw that in there and see what's going on in that direction of what if you given the option of the easy way out, join the Tau, because that's just easier than trying to beat them because they've got superior firepower, superior technology, and just talk a good game and fight a good game.
Yeah.
And you have no idea what you're fucking doing as a commander because you're a sniper. That's your job. That's a really interesting place to take something. So that is a novel I'd be interested to go back and read if I had the time, which I don't.
Yeah. If we could just have more time, that would make things so much easier.
Time. It is always time.
Yep.
But yes, having Apple Books very much helps because I can just read on my phone whenever I get a spare half an hour here, a spare 20 minutes there. I know he said 30 minutes after I just said half an hour, obviously.
Yeah, but still, I think I should, have, or, renew my Audible subscription. Anyway, Goodness gracious, it's already past 10 p.m. I guess it's my bedtime. And, well, whatevs. Because, well, I have to, drive 1 hour to work and 1 hour back, depending on, what's the weather like or what season it is, a wee bit under 1 hour when it's not, when there's no snow on the ground, and a wee bit over an hour when there is snow on the ground. So I would really have time to, listen to audiobooks, and not just these things from YouTube that, technically are audiobooks, but there might be interesting musical arrangements in between things.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked at length about audiobooks.
Yeah, I remember.
So I'm not going to say any more.
Understandably so.
But yes, it's interesting that trying to find the time to read, but also knowing, as we were talking about earlier, about having the feeling of needing to be busy, of needing to do shit, and actually be able to stop and go, you know what? And just read for a bit. Like, that's hard.
It is.
To be able to just find time in your day to just stop and read. Like, I've read 5 books this year. Like, for the people who know me, like people back home who know me, I could go through, if I had the time, I'd go through 5 books in a month. Hell, I went through 2 books in a weekend.
Yeah.
When I was travelling, I went on holiday, we had to get the coach, and it was 9 hours each way.
Oh yeah, I remember you talking about this at some point.
And literally, I read 2.5 books that weekend, between the bus travel on the coaches and just a bit of knockaround time. I read 2.5 damn books.
That is an achievement. I could never read in a bus just because, I don't want to throw up.
Oh no, I had to stop, and that was me stopping. But actually no, I had to stop reading the physical copy. The ebook I could read all day, but the physical copy I did have to stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, Jesus, I can mince through a book, and it's like, yeah, do you actually take the information in? Yeah, in the moment, I follow along with the story, I can keep up with it.
Yeah.
Occasionally I'll spot the callbacks. I don't need to memorize every single word of the plot because my brain just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I can't. I could barely remember what I had for lunch last week. So, like, why am I going to remember all the intricacy details of a book? That's Remlace's job, not mine.
Indeed.
My job's to sell. My job's almost to sell you the book of like, this is what this book's kind of about. This is the concept. This is some stuff that happens. This is the result. I'm here to sell you on the book and make you convinced. Yeah, this book's worth reading. You can go read it yourself if you want all the details in every line of dialogue. Go read it yourself.
Yeah.
But I can give you a concept like Children of Teclis. I've deliberately not told people how it ends. I've told you how to get to the final section, but I genuinely forgot the last bit. So I just didn't tell you, because then you can go and find out on your own.
Indeed. And I think that's a very good way to go about it. And like, well, from teacher to teacher, like, we don't have to tell the people, like, if we don't remember things, like, yeah, find it out on your own. This is something that you personally have to find out. Blobbity, blobbity, blah.
Yeah, you get asked a question in class and you're just like, I don't know. Google it. Get back to me.
Yeah. Or then I'll just I'll go like, that's a very good question. Let's Google it together and see what it is. Because at the moment, I cannot remember. This is something that I've been doing with the I teach, 15 to technically 19-year-olds. Well, 15 to 18. Anyway, those people, they are kind of in the age group in which they're not just like, we're being teenagers, like, just like being whatever. And just like, they understand it if I say like, yeah, I actually am not sure. That's a very good question. Let's check this out together and kind of reason why this is the answer.
Yeah, exactly. And the amount of times that a student asked me today, what's anthropology?
Oh, I should know this.
A
very good question. Let us Google this together.
And I did. I literally Googled it. So, yeah, it is something I've had to do, is just Google stuff.
Yeah.
Because I don't know the answer. Or tell them to go and Google it, because I haven't got the time to check myself, but I want to know.
Yeah. And like, I find it very fascinating as a language teacher that they just come to me and ask the weirdest things, like, what is this in English? And I'm like, you'll have to give me a context, because at the moment I have about 5 different translations meaning completely different things. Which one do you want? And then, like, nowadays they usually, like, they have learned that they have to show me the context in which they want a word, because I don't remember all the exercises by heart. And they're like, yeah, like, at this point, I'm like, yeah, I'll put either this or that. Do you want me to check, like, which one the material has? Or do you want to, just see which one feels better and just, like, check out later how it, quote-unquote, is supposed to be done?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
And doesn't help the English language is a bastard.
Languages are a lovely bastard when it comes to, because it's kind of, with languages you just do stuff, like different kinds of stuff. With English you can do so many things, but for instance with history it's something like, okay, you learn this, you might apply to something in the future, but it's not kind of like, languages are a tool that I'm using, like, kind of teaching people to use. Like, mathematics is also a tool. A different kind of tool, but still. But history is something like, well, learn this by heart and have fun. Though it can be used as a tool, but in a very specific way.
Yeah, the thing with subjects like history and science, to be fair, I'm saying this as a science teacher, is it's not, well, it is about what you know, but it's how you think. And that's what I say when I sort of pitch science to people, is there's always, science teaches you not just stuff about how the world works. It gives you ideas on how to think, how to approach a problem.
Yeah, and absolutely.
Like, trying to steer slightly back to context of, like...
We're just our teacher tangents, yeah.
If I want to complete this maneuver in a game of Warhammer and beat my opponent, I need to think, okay, what are my options? What would I need to do to achieve my goal? Statistically, what is the most likely option to achieve that goal? And what are the risks involved in doing so? Like, it's a tiny microcosm of risk management and risk assessment, which is literally the first thing you learn about in science in some places.
Yeah.
So how to be safe, how to think, is this a sensible risk to take? Everything's risky, but what's the level of risk? What are the chances that things will go wrong if I take that risk? And how badly wrong will it go? And all of these things, you don't even think you're doing it, but you are doing it. And they're the sorts of skills that subjects like mine teach you. It's like how to think.
Yeah.
Like, not necessarily, I'm not talking about brainwashing you. No, what I'm saying is like
patterns.
Patterns, techniques, problem solving.
Yeah.
Looking at a situation and appraising a situation, looking at a set of data and going, hang on, wait a minute. What does this actually mean?
Yeah, indeed. And keeping it in this, in the 40k, space, quote unquote. When it comes to foreign languages, in which language are these books written in? English. We have Finnish people who are very enthusiastic about, Warhammer 40k. We don't have these books in Finnish. What do they have to do? They will have to, Google some words, perhaps, they argue about semantics, etc. What does this rule mean, etc., etc. And that also calls for, knowing things about, well, not perhaps linguistics, but knowing the language and having the tools to find out the things that you don't know.
Yeah, I've told this story before, but when I went to France, AOS 2 came out. And at the time of AOS 2 and the new Stormcast Evocators was the unit, I went into the Warhammer shop because we were all I was around, I went into the shop in Grenoble, and the guys were talking about the Evocators, saying, these guys are broken. Like, if you put them into the middle of a clan rats unit, they just kill them all. Because the French card said, lancez un D6 pour chaque modèle dans l'unité, which translates to roll a 2d6 or roll a d6 for each model in the unit.
That's a lot.
Now, what they were suggesting is you only use the ability when you're within 3 inches of an enemy unit. So it said when within 3 inches of an enemy unit, I think it was 2 dice, roll 2 dice for each model in the unit. Now, contextually, they were saying, wait, the last unit mentioned was the enemy unit. So it's 2 dice for each model in the enemy unit to do mortal wounds. And I had to then pull up the English card and say, it says here, this unit, i.e. it's referring to the evocators, and they were like, oh, this unit. And they understood, because I had to clarify to them, because the way that it's been translated, linguistically, yeah, in the unit, we all know what that means, but contextually, it could have been either unit, but the English translation was very clear. So it is very weird in the language skills you need, because if you want to read Black Library, you've got to read in English, French, or German. Nothing else.
Ha! 2 of those I could do.
Yeah, 2 of those I could do. Ish. My French is a bit rusty, but I could muddle my way through a novel in French. I'd struggle and need to translate a bunch, but I could muddle my way through.
Well, still, you could do much better than with, I could do with my French. I'm here like, bonjour, je m'appelle Naerina, j'habite à Finlande. Oui, moi je déteste le pain blanc because it was said in the chapter, and I don't hate white bread. I actually like it quite a lot, a lot. And of course, le weekend.
Le weekend.
Like, what the hell? Anyway, before it turns into a French rant, like,
Yeah, it's a thing. But no, it is... I don't know. I know I'm taking this as a school teacher. Like, try at school, kids.
Yep.
And I know I'm talking to my own bloody pupils here.
You can also try at my school, kids.
Like, try, please. Because you're not just picking up knowledge. It's not about teachers telling you what to do. It's about life skills and being able to do the things you want to do. And whether that's play Warhammer or work in McDonald's, it doesn't bloody matter. It's skills. It's skills. So please just fucking try.
Yep.
Right, make an effort. Make an effort. What you get out, what you put in. And that's the last thing I'm going to say on the matter.
Very well put. I won't add anything to that because otherwise I'll ruin it.
Fair enough.
So is it time for questions or?
Yep, so I'm trying to stifle a yawn. Yep. Let's have a quick look. There's not actually that many in all truth, but there are a few.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, with Lionel Johnson back, do you think we'll get an explanation for why he exiled half his legion, referring to Luther and that lot being sent back to Caliban?
Hopefully so. I'm not sure if we'll...
That would be nice.
Yeah, I'm not sure if we will get an explanation, but this would be the moment.
Yeah, like, there's an amount of things they can do with Lion now to just pay off all this stuff. Why did this happen? What was Lion doing? What actually happened here? They can actually pay all that stuff off now. They don't have to do it all in one go, but they should probably pay it all off.
Yeah, just like start at something and, keep going.
Yeah. Another question. Will the multiverse become a shenanigans issue later on in 40k's history? I fucking hope not.
I'm scared of what all potential things could be related to this multiverse.
Multiverse, again, I'm drawing on Mortal Kombat here because the MK1 just came out. Multiverse shenanigans are fine, but as soon as they start becoming critical to the plot, and, we must save the multiverse, or the other universes are invading, we must gather allies to stop them, which is what Mortal Kombat 1 does, is like, okay, so the timeline's fucked, everything we understand never actually happened, and every single canon event that we said wasn't canon, we didn't say it just wasn't canon doesn't mean it isn't true, it's gone to, it is canon in a different fucking universe.
Yeah, and I think one of the few things that has done multiverse, properly is the Spider-Verse movie series.
I've not watched the second one. I've watched the first one.
I've also watched the first one because we don't have movie theatres where I live at the moment. The nearest one is an hour away. But, well, technically because of the road, works or whatever. They are doing some construction over there. It's 1.5 hours, but still, I would love to see the other ones as well, but the first one's very good.
Yeah, and I don't know, it's just... I think if not done extremely carefully and with the entire purpose of being about a multiverse thing, multiverses are just lazy, cheap ways out from we've written ourselves into a corner.
Yeah, they are.
But yeah, that's where I am. It's lazy. It's usually just being lazy.
Yeah, if they have some sort of, as you said, something like, hey, we have a multiverse thing. Okay, you go there now. Bye. We'll never see each other again. And that's it. And it doesn't affect the overall plot. Yeah, sure, we'll go for it. But if we open that kind of worms, then there will be a lot of worms.
Yeah, I think the best thing multiversal that they could do with 40k is, you know how Marvel did that what if?
Yeah.
Where they said, what if this happened? Story.
Yeah.
What if this happened? Story. We do that all the time. That's what theory videos are. But if there was like a written book or a series of what if stories where, what if Horus actually did kill the Emperor? What if this? What if the Emperor never had to be put on the Golden Throne? What if Leman Russ actually fucking listened and brought Magnus back for questioning? What if load-bearing walls were heretical? What if Marnius Calgar had died fighting the Swarm Lord? What if, I don't know,
the Ethereals weren't such weirdos.
Yeah. What if they swapped the sides of the Primarchs and the Heresy and it was the Dornian Heresy or whatever? That's something they could do for fun.
Yeah.
If you just want to give the Black Library team a fun writing exercise, just say, give them a brief and say, you can tell whatever the fuck story you want because it's not canon. It's a what if.
Yeah.
Like if you want the writers to do that, that's fine with me. But I wouldn't make it part of the there is a multiverse.
Yeah, I would make it a collection of short stories.
Yeah. Do not ever let the multiverse collide.
Never cross the streams.
Yeah, don't cross the stream. What would happen if you threw a bunch of blanks into the warp with spacesuits? We've talked about this before. The idea of throwing blanks into a warp portal, they'll just walk right through it and come out the other side of the portal. Like, there'll be like you can't walk through the portal, you just walk from one side of the Hyperion reality to the other side of the hole in the same space. But in terms of if you're in the warp and you have blanks on board and you let them out, I don't actually know what would happen. I'm guessing that they could travel relatively freely because the demons don't notice.
Yeah, and
because
if
psychic power can't affect them.
Yeah, and if they do notice, they notice a kind of a black hole. Like if blanks make psychics feel bad, imagine how they make demons feel. Because they are all magic. So either they can go freely because they're not noticed, or then there'll be a lot of screaming, in pain screaming demons that want nothing more than just rip that thing to pieces. Because
that thing they can't see.
Yeah, so there would be a lot of violence.
Yeah, I would expect so. Most likely people will just charge into the black hole hoping that there's something there. And they'll not know anything's there, but they'll just run through them and just stab them anyway by accident.
Yeah.
Right. Rem probably would know the answer to this one, but obviously the Eldari struggle with their whole reproduction problem. But is there an issue in terms of the size of an Eldari? Obviously they have long pregnancies, but they live longer. So do they it's almost asking, do the Eldari go through the menopause? Can you have Eldari families of many, 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 many kids if a particular person is particularly fertile? I don't know. So I don't know is the short answer, because my Eldari lore is crap. So I'm going to have to pass on that one, but I wanted to mention it because apparently we missed their last question about whether a Culexus assassin could kill the chief librarians of the different chapters, etc., disregarding plot armor. So we missed that one, and I think that's one I might try and remember if we get time in another episode, but we'll see how we go.
Yeah, but to the Eldar thing, if you live that long, I'm not sure how much interest you're going to have, having children. Perhaps, you could have 20 plus children, but, the age gap between them might be quite a lot. And then again, if you have the kind of craft world there, you only have a limited space. So I don't know if they have any sort of but if the fate of your race depends on having more population, as is the case with places like Yandon, especially. Yeah, but then again, if you fuck Slanesh into existence, you're kind of iffy about it.
Quite possibly, yes.
Yeah, so we can have some children, but there's two of us. Let's have 3 so that we don't get any extra attention from Slanesh or something like that, and we can.
Just it's a functional thing required for survival. Yeah. Just try not to enjoy yourself.
Don't have fun while having a baby. It's not supposed to be going like that.
Oh dear.
Eldari shenanigans, indeed.
That's a Fabius Bile question. I think we might try and talk about more Fabius Bile stuff when we do the Fabius Bile versus Cole novel whenever that comes out.
Oh yeah, that sounds lovely.
There's a question here about who's in what VTM clan. Vampire the Masquerade.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like from us.
I have no idea what the hell's going on. Yeah.
Well,
between you and Naerina is what it says, but who's in what VTM clan? I don't have anything to do with Vampire the Masquerade, so I'm just going to pass this question and move along.
Well, I think because I'm an artistic, I might be in Toreador. Well, basically, Toreadors are the artists like, oh my god, this thing is so pretty, The most kind of human kind of vampires, at least in the Camarilla. Camarilla are the people, or Camarilla, it depends where you come from, are the kind of vampire people who are like, yeah, let's keep this hush-hush. Don't mention that we exist because they're hunters and people might want to kill us. We don't want that. And if we're keeping it very short, the other, 6 main Camarilla clans are Ventru, the quote-unquote bankers, that we're better than everyone else. Then we have the Tremere, we have magic. Then we have the Bruja, who are like, I have principles and I'm the one who rebels against this system. A lot of anarchs who are like, well, we don't want to be under the thumb of Camarilla, we just want to live, but, we don't want people to kind of like find out what we're all about. They come from there. Then we have Gangrel. They're animals, or animalistic at the very least. We have Malkavians. They are absolutely insane. They might have some, future predicting powers, but who can tell because they are absolutely insane. And then we have Nosferatu. If you meet a Nosferatu, have you seen the 1920s movie Nosferatu?
Oh, sorry, I was falling asleep there.
Sorry.
Sorry, it's not your fault. It's just that this, it just doesn't interest me. I'm sorry, that's really rude of me.
That's all right. This is Warhammer 40k podcast, not Vampire the Masquerade podcast.
No,
but
it's more like this is probably what most people feel like when we bang on about Warhammer, isn't it?
But yeah, well, Nosferatu are the kind of like, they are the most monster looking, but they know a lot of things because they have their own internet, etc. So I would say that when it comes to knowledge, because I've seen Remleys live and I've seen pictures of you. Neither of you go into the Nosferatu category when it comes to the looks. You're both very good looking, what I think, like at least what I think. And, but you're both very intelligent as well. So I think Remleys might go into the, when it comes to intelligence and knowing things, to perhaps the Nosferatu or Tremere. And you, my darling friend, I think you might be either because you are wise but not insane and you know a lot of things and you can teach things. You might go into the Tremere section of things. But yeah, that's about it. Then of course we have other clans, but we don't have time for that because I don't want you falling asleep.
Yeah, sorry. That was really different.
Hey, that's what happens.
Right.
It is quite late, so don't you worry, dearie.
It is. And so we're going to wrap it there. Thank you very much. This has been Neve from Tactica Imperialis.
And this has been Naerina from 40k Theories.
And we'll see you all next time. Goodbye.
Bye.